It's really nice to feel like literally a sewing fairy. We're changing the plan. It's not going to work. They're like, what? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, La Fraise. I'm realizing this is very messy behind me. And just quickly showing you, I literally come back from the fabric store, bought this for my sister's birthday. She requested a wrap top. And I'm going to make the Cassidy top I've made for myself, but I won't tell you too much about it. I guess you'll see that in another video. Okay, it's a touch less messy like this. Okay, today we are here to repair this shirt. What happened to this shirt? My friend Anaëlle works, well, she works for a social cause as well, so she's basically a saint. But on the weekend, she volunteers in a dog shelter. And so she goes and walks the dog of the shelter and everything, like, does great things. Sometimes, I don't know at which frequency and I don't know what are the rules, but she sometimes goes and visits the dogs in their house once they are rehomed. Like, she goes and visits them. I don't know the process. She went to visit a dog that was at the shelter and that has been rehomed. And the dog was so excited to see her that he jumped at her and ripped her shirt in his excitement. And so this is a shirt from the brand Horta, which is a Belgian brand, and it's a bit more pricey. It's like nicely made and everything. And so she was very upset that it was damaged and asked if I could do anything. By the way, if you're the sewing friend in your sewing group, you don't have to say yes to everything people ask of you. Like, your time is your time. In this case, I'm really happy to do it for her. It's a nice challenge for me. And also I have the time at the moment, but like, protect your time, don't say yes to everything, you don't have to hem everyone's pants, you know. Originally, I kind of talked with her and she really didn't want like any sort of patch of anything that would really, yeah, she wasn't into patching, crafty, anything that would look too repaired. So I was like, perfect, I'll do a tank top out of it. But honestly, looking at it now, I'm like, this shirt is actually not oversized enough for me to squeeze a tank top out of it. Like, my usual pattern of tank top is from the fabric store, it's a free pattern. The sleeves are very narrow too, so I was like, oh, I can maybe like squeeze fabric from the sleeves. Like, not really. Very, very little fabric in the sleeves as well, and they're not very long either. So I was like, okay, I'll do an Ogden cami. And I'll show you in a different clip, but the Ogden cami was also a very difficult option. So this is where I'm coming now. I'm going to try, so basically I'm going to try the repair I have in mind now. If it doesn't work, I'll go back on the plan of the Ogden cami. What I want to do, because actually this looks like a big hole, but if you put the fabric back, you know, it's just a rip more than a hole. So what I'm planning to do is put some interfacing. I have some viscose that is pale skin color from the jumpsuit I made for my wife. So I'm going to put that at the back. So pale skin viscose, and then a bit of interfacing. And then I'm going to, so I have white thread and I have bought yellow thread. And I'm going to re-sew the threads. So let's see how this works. And yeah, and if this doesn't work, then we'll go back on the plan of the Ogden cami, but I think that's also going to be a headache and I'm not sure it's going to work. So going into a transformation, not knowing it's going to work, let's see how this goes. Milo, they can't see the buttons if you're there. So the thing with this shirt is that it has those really nice buttons on the side. So I really wanted to keep the side seam as it is, like you can see it here. But the issue is that, oh my God, that is a shirt, that is not your blanket. Okay, we moved the assistant away. So the way I would want to cut this, considering that this would need to be re-pieced from a piece of sleeve or something, I wanted to cut the half front and half back in one piece, cut down the middle here, and then, ooh, maybe have it in one big piece and just piece the front together. So as you might be able to appreciate, firstly, it's very difficult to place everything on the shirt because the shirt is already finished. So it already has its own shape with the sleeves and stuff. And so it's really hard to place the pattern piece flat onto something that's already shaped. But secondly, if it seems like I'm able to fit the back piece, so that's on the fold, and that's the side seam, the front piece doesn't fit at all because the shape of the shirt is quite different. Like the Ogden cami is really going out here on the outside. And so if you see here, you can actually see the button. So that's the side seam and my side seam for the Ogden cami is really not matching. So what I could do is literally keep the whole shirt as is, like remove the bottom and that becomes my center seam, and just cut the top. But honestly, like I think you can see why this is proving difficult. So therefore, I'm going to try repairing it first before going on the Ogden cami option, because I'm really not super confident that this is going to work. Okay guys, I don't want to be overly enthusiastic, but step one looks basically ready to wear. Okay, you can see the transparency quite a bit, but obviously against skin, I think it's going to be better. So I'm going to now try to match the thread and kind of fill the gaps with this, and we shall see what it looks like. So what I have done is that I've put the patch of skin colored, now I'm like, it's still kind of dark, but at the same time white would have shown as well. So I have the patch of pale skin colored fabric and then a patch of interfacing around it. The interfacing kind of like keep it stuck onto the wound of the shirt. So yeah, so that's what it looks like. This side, yeah, I still need to sew it all down. But yeah, I'm like quite pleased. If I show it this way, quite pleased with this first step. Let's see how it goes. Okay, kind of emergency filming, but I'm realizing if my friend likes her shirt like this, then the shirt is going. I'm seeing her soon, she's gonna see the shirt, and if she likes it, that's my job done and she gets her shirt back. So really, I had really ruled out repairing this shirt, because when I talked to her and I was like, what about the patch? What about this? What about that? Like, she was really like, no, I don't want any like visible mending. Didn't like the idea of like having something that looks really repaired. And I think it's because seeing the size of the hole, she saw how big the hole was and was kind of like, well, that's a massive hole. But if you pushed, and you saw that in the previous clip, if you push the fabric back, the tear is actually not that big, and like the hole itself, it's not a big hole, it's just like a thin line that went like this. So as you saw in the clip just before, I put the interfacing and a little bit of pale skin colored fabric behind it to reinforce the area a little bit. And then I went with my machine and I basically like re-wove the whole fabric, if that makes sense. So I started by going left to right and just going like like this to kind of like stabilize everything, especially because there was one bit that was still flapping, because that was just fabric against fabric without any of the interfacing helping it stick down. So I wanted to make sure that that piece was sticking down nicely. And I did all that in white thread, which was not a problem because the weft was white anyway in the fabric. So did all that in white, and then I took my white thread first and I redrew the line one by one, making them match with the white thread. It was a touch tricky because the rib part has distorted the lines a little bit. So as you can see, there's really the distortion here, and I couldn't do much about that. In some places I tried to kind of redraw over it and ignore the ribbed part, but still that was oh, on camera it looks much more different colors than in real life. I have to say the mending looks less visible in real life than it does here, I think. And after doing all the whites, I did all the yellow. Sadly, you might be able to see I didn't find the perfect match for the thread, and that would have made it even better if I had a perfect match, because that's one thing. Like if you like the white, you can't even see the thread, and you can see the yellow thread. Yeah, that's a bit of a shame, because that's kind of like the detail that doesn't help. If she says that she would like me to try to re-go over with a better thread, I'm going to go and search for a better thread match, but that might be a bit tricky. I also originally, so there is mending up here and then down here as well, and what I had done originally was just sew across and then to reach the next part, which was totally fine in the white, but in the yellow, because the thread is not matching perfectly, you could see this one thread going down, so I've actually unpicked the threads that were visible in the yellow lines. I was really hoping, I was hoping for a touch better, mostly because I was hoping to find a better thread match and that would have made it perfect. But I was like, I'm gonna try to repair it and I want your jaw to like drop on the floor. That was my plan and my vision. Then when I saw what it looked like, I was like, it's not perfect, it's not ideal. And I sent her a photo and her jaw dropped on the floor. I was like, yes, so happy. So happy because she really didn't expect that you could do such a repair on the shirt. And I feel like from far away, it's even better. I mean, again, I feel like the camera picks it up quite meanly. In real life, really, it's less visible than that. The only thing that's really visible in real life is that the texture is different. So the way it falls onto you, okay, that's the back of the shirt, but I'm putting it on my front so you can see the texture is a bit different here. But honestly, so happy. I'm very, very pleased with this and find that it shows that you could repair quite a few things actually with this method. And to be honest, to judge about how good or bad this repair is, I think it's also important to step back a little bit, because as I was working on it, you really like super, super close to it. And I was like, oh, I don't know if it's that good. It's not as good as I hoped it would be. But then stepping back, I was like, wow, from far away, it's almost invisible, really. So, you know, you are sewing really, really close to your project. So maybe also step back to see what it really looks like. You know, people are not normally so close to you. And the way I did this drawing with the thread, so I used a simple straight stitch, but what I did, I found it easier to kind of go like this per section and then go down, go the next section. So I would really have my finger on my back stitch and go front, back, front, back, front, back, and really go really short lines. I thought that it gave a better result than going really long lines like this. Don't ask me why. I think it's also a question of control. For me, on this project, I found that it was better to kind of go like this. It felt more like coloring in than another option, which would have been like doing very long lines and maybe you feel like it goes, I don't know, it just worked better for me. And I'm going to put a little clip where you can see that I'm really going with my thumb front, back, front, back, front, back. So just so you know, that's the way I did it this time, and it worked really well for me, allowed me to have quite a lot of precision on this project, but not saying that it's the best way and the only way to do it. So yeah, I'm super curious to see what my friend is going to say. I shall let you know if she accepts this repair and if she's happy with it. I hope you are impressed, and I hope you are motivated to mend your own ripped shirt if you have some of those, or you know, if you want to mend whatever you want to mend, and maybe you can use this technique as well. You can see that worked pretty well. Like this video if you are impressed by my mending, subscribe if you want to see more of what I'm up to, and don't forget that you can make and mend anything. Bye! And then we had to go back to the drawing board. Sorry, no, like the video is not finished. I'm sorry, this was a joke. My friend was very happy with the results, but she didn't want visible mending, so we are back at work, sending you back to Noémie making the shirt transformation. So my friend was really impressed with the repair. She really didn't believe, here you can see the transparency, so it doesn't look as good, but she was really impressed with the repair. She didn't believe that something like this could be done. However, as was her brief, she didn't want something that looked visibly mended, and that is visible mending still. And so she said she probably wouldn't feel confident wearing this, which is fine, it was part of the brief. And, you know, everyone has different feelings about what they're comfortable wearing or not. So we're chopping this. I have literally just finished, so I filmed my outro for the Ogden Cami video, which is this top here, and I'm going to copy the neckline on this. Originally, I was thinking I would cut, so I would preserve the side seams that have those nice buttons and cut. So here, if you've seen my Ogden Cami video, it's also a piece of fabric. So there's actually a center seam here that's not in the original pattern. But so I was thinking that I would cut the front and back in one piece, so like the front left and back left in one piece, and then the front right and the back right in one piece, and then sandwich them like this. So instead of, you know, sewing front and back, I would sew left and right. But then I was like, well, why create a back seam when I don't need to? And the reason why I was thinking of avoiding to create a back seam is that as there's also the bit here, I'm going to have to replace the top. I think it's going to be easier to have the back as one piece. So basically I'm going to cut one big piece. I'm basically going to draw the neckline onto everything and then chop the neckline and then sew the front together. I'm just realizing I can't unpick the button plackets because they are the buttonholes. So maybe I just remove the button and sew the button plackets together and that becomes my center seam. But to be honest, that's a little bit more bulk than I wanted, and I also didn't want to make this any tighter than it had to be. But I guess if the shirt was big enough like this, well, I need to do a touch of thinking around that. But basically I'm going to sew the button placket together. Or do I leave the buttons fully and it's a buttoned top? Oh gosh, thinking needs to be done. Oh gosh, I thought I had a plan, but now I'm like, well, what is sure is that I'm gonna cut all around, but what's not sure is how I'm going to do the front. So maybe I put the back button placket behind the front one and kind of sew it shut. Maybe that's an idea. Maybe I'll do that. And then the big question will be, do I do a facing or a bias binding for the neckline? And I shall see how much fabric I can salvage from the sleeve to make that decision. Oh dear, that's wish me luck. Wish me luck. I'm going to start by chopping off those sleeves and being able to open up the shirt a little bit more to see what I'm doing. We are chopping this up. We're changing the plan. It's not going to work. I'm going to show you why. The neckline and the armhole don't match at all, and with this pattern, you know, if I try to make the neckline longer or the armhole longer, I think it's going to gape, and I've been doing a lot of thinking. So what has been chopped off for now are the sleeves and the yoke. So the rest is still in one piece. The repaired bit that needs to go away is still in one piece. But once I decide what I do, I'm going to chop this off as well, and that is going to have to be pieced. As the Octane Cami is quite a complex pattern, I think it's not going to be our safest bet for this project, because also, as I had explained, the front middle and the side seams really don't match with my original shirt, which means that if I wanted things to fit a bit better, if we said, for example, let's use the side seams and then I cut around this and chop this off, then the stripes are not going to be straight anymore, and I want the stripes to be straight. Yeah, using that neckline and that armhole are simply not going to work if it's important for me to keep the side seam, which it is. So, come into play my trusty tank top, which seems to always be doing the work nowadays. And I'm going to try kind of like oversized tank. So I'm going to chop, wait, that's this way around. I'm going to first do a bit of thinking and planning, but basically what I'm going to do is chop the neckline, shuffle it here, chop the armhole, and so the shoulder seam is going to be a bit longer than it originally was. So maybe the tank top is going to fall off your shoulders a little bit. That's the big question mark, and maybe that's not going to work, and maybe it's a disaster, but that's what I'm going to try. To keep the armhole, yeah, we're going to have to try. There's no other way. And same for the back, except that the back is going to have a sort of back yoke to replace that bit. A lot of thinking still remains to be done before I start cutting, because also I need to make sure it's not going to be too short, and I want to make sure that the top works. So more thinking with my pattern pieces has to happen. That's kind of like the hard to vlog bit, but when you are doing that type of reparation, a lot of time is spent pondering. So I'm going to ponder. This is proving tricky, but I have a plan. So I was looking a lot at this, but then thinking how I was going to extend the shoulder seam so that it would be nice. And then I looked at another one from the fabric store, which is the Agustina blouse. And I was like, oh, that's exactly the right size. I mean, you know, we're like quite close to the shape of the Agustina blouse. Then I was like, how do I cut this while preserving the side seam And yeah, that wasn't really working. But so what I have done, I have taken the tank top neckline, cut that. I did leave 0.5 centimeter here because I'm going to overlap the two front here and like sew them on top of one another. So I'm going to sew this side on top of that side. So I'm not going to sew them as a seam. I'm really going to do like shoop, like 2 lines of stitching so that it goes flat on the front. So I did 0.5 centimeter. I have used this shoulder line to extend the shoulder. So that is what you can see here in blue. I have extended the shoulder, and then I have that armhole coming out here. So now I'm going to trace the back. So the issue is that the back of the shirt had a back yoke, which means that this is too big for really matching, like, you know, because if I do the same, armholes, neckline, then my shoulder seam is going to be way too big and my shoulder seam is not going to match the front one. So what I'm going to do is keep the width of the shirt here. This way I don't have to do any of the side seam and back seam, but I'm going to chop the top off where the repair is starting. And there I'll put the armhole, the neckline, etc. And there's going to be a little, I hope it's understandable, but anyway, you'll see as it goes. But then I'm going to do a little notch. Is that what it's called? I forgot the name, but I'm going to have a little pleat, here you go. I'm going to have a pleat here to make it match my yoke. Okay, let's go. Less talking, more doing, and I hope it's gonna make sense as it comes, you know, together. I'm realizing I'm getting a little bit ahead with sewing without updating you, but so I have cut the top yoke from the right and left sleeves because the sleeves were so narrow I couldn't even cut this out of one. So I had to use both sleeves. So I really like cut the sleeve open, ironed it a bit cleaner. And I have pieced the 2 sleeves together with a nice French seam. I'm not going to top stitch this one because it's going to be the neckband here and the attachment here. That's going to make it fine without being top stitched. I will top stitch, however, the French seam I'm making now, which is attaching the yoke to the bottom of the shirt. And as you can see, I basted this so that this pleat would stay nice and in position while I sew the yoke. So the yoke is attached and has a very nice top stitching to hold the French seam up. So that is top stitched. The top stitching line is the yellow one and the white one is the actual stitching. Still have a tiny bit of the repair left, but I was trying not to cut it too low because the yoke would look weird if it was too low down your back. So if you go and look, so yeah, it's actually in the seam, so you can't see any of the repair here anymore. Oh, I need to neaten that French seam here, but you can't see any of the repair, but it is in the seam here. So now we almost at a normal construction. I don't want to try this on too early because I'm so worried it's going to be ugly. But I'm going to join the shoulder seams and then I'm going to sew down the front. And then afterwards, it's binding for the neckline and armholes and we are done. I don't even need to hem it because I have the original hem of the shirt all around. So yeah, there's not much left to be done. Really, I should have done French seams for the shoulders as well because it's French seams everywhere and now the shoulders are just a zigzag here. But I did not add 0.5 centimeter of seam allowance to this, and if I do French seams it might make it a bit tight on the neck hole as well. So I'm not going to take risks and going to do a normal seam to this, but it's a bit silly because all the rest is French. But oh well, inside the shirt itself, like it's just like this. So I think one seam that's not French should be fine. Okay, I'm super happy. I am done for now. I will explain, but now I need to go and walk that little rascal because he's ready to go out. So I've tried this on and I will retry it on for you guys, but I have shown my friend and it's quite covered at the moment, as you can see. And we've agreed that I will lower the neckline for her a little bit. So that's what I will do tonight because once I am in a project, I can't stop and I sew until I drop. But so yeah, I will, before I do the modifications, I will put it back on and show you how it looks now. And then I will lower the neckline and and then it will be done. So that is very exciting. Milo, excited for mommy's shirt? No, he just wants to go on his walk. Fair enough, but I am super happy that my friend likes it, because I wasn't sure, like, she's not really into the like homemade look. So I wasn't sure if she would like it, but she was really like blown away that it was her shirt. I feel like because I watched the sewing bee and the transformation challenges, and so I feel like this was quite a light transformation for a shirt. But like, then you realize when you talk to people who are not used to sewing, they're like, what? So it's really nice. It's really nice to feel like literally a sewing fairy. It's a feeling I enjoy. Okay, apologies for the office behind me, which is a mess. So this is the situation with the shirt, and I'm so happy. So I think you can recognize the tank top from the fabric store, but yeah, it has been modified a bit, as you know. And I've shown this to my friend, she loves it, and I'm just going to lower the neckline a little bit. So that's what it looks like, and I just wanted to show you that. So annoying. The whole point is that the friend doesn't like mending, and what did I do while cutting the neckline? I chopped this. So now the good news is that I can totally just re-sew this shot, because it's totally hidden. I mean, the snipped bit is here behind, so it's fine. But still, I was like, God, literally the whole point was that she didn't want mending, and now I have chopped it. But I'm going to check what the neckline looks like now. Being very careful when I put the neckline on before the bias is on, because obviously when you put the neckline on, there's no bias, it could stretch, it could warp. So I was very careful, but I think that is a good neckline. So I'm going to finish that up. And that's it, the version with the lower neckline is done. So yeah, this is how it falls. Yeah, I don't know, I feel like with the bias binding, you can't scoop too low before the neckline looks a bit funny, so I think that's as low as you could go really, without making it look a bit weird. So yeah, and I will show you how I saved the back that I chopped into as well. I was like so annoyed, but I had to do it by hand, but it literally took 2 minutes. So as you can see, I literally had to fix that by hand. Luckily from the front, you really can't see anything. Yay! Okay, and we're now quite a while later, and I actually just wanted to properly finish this video once my friend has received her shirt, because, you know, just in case I needed to go back to the drawing board and make a full ball gown for her out of this. But no, I gave her the shirt, she was super happy. It was really nice to see that once more sewing magic can bring joy to the world. So she was thrilled. For her, it was incredible that this could happen. So yeah, I just wanted to confirm that this ended in a happy ending. I'm not going to redo the whole end of video spiel because I already did it during the video. But so I'll see you next time, and don't forget that you can make anything. Bye!